Manalah yang ni tak sampai-sampai lagi ni. Tadi kata nak ambil.
Dek, tadi tengok siapa?
Ayah tadi dia kata nak ambil.
Ini dah berapa ni ayah cakap? Ayah suruh abang naik ni. Ni tak?
Boleh je.
Todas las veo buenas, si bebo ron, la blanquita y la morena.
Assalamualaikum everyone and good afternoon. Salam Ramadan. A warm good afternoon to all of you present here. My name is Alia Farisa binti Zainal and I will be your host till the end of the function. Welcome to our mini forum today. This forum program will talk about something controversial. Before this mini forum start to begin, I would like to introduce our pretty and handsome panel who will play as a big role in our debate today. Now, I will introduce to all audience about our panel. Beside me is panel number 1, who is a Chief Inspector in Shah Alam IPD, Sir Nazrin. Next, we have panel number 2, Miss Wilma as the representative of Mother Union in Kulai. And lastly, we bring to you guys a doctor of psychology from HSA, Mr. Azri bin Azri. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? We would like to begin our mini forum. Our hot topic discussion is about pedophilia. As we know, pedophilia is a sexual perversion in which an adult or adolescent experiences a primary sexual attraction to preschooler children. Research indicates that approximately 3% to 5% of the population experience pedophilic attraction. A pedophilia can be described as an adult person who gets sexually attracted to young people. Pedophilia as hybrid behavior which deviates from what the society expects, especially on sexual behavior. Pedophilia is an unnatural or abnormal attraction towards children of either or both sexes, usually aged 13 years or younger. A pedophile's attraction towards adults varies. The fantasies or action, they are fantasies with children who have not reached puberty. For further explanation about this issue, I will ask Sir Nazrin to continue with her talk.
Thank you, Miss Elia. Our moderator today, my name is Muhammad Nazrin bin Muhammad Yaziz, Inspector Police from Kuala Lumpur. So, the severity of pedophilia in our country is undeniably critical. Lately, the phenomenon of sexual assault cases among children is increasing at an alarming rate, and one of them being an Ipoh orphanage worker who has been detained for allegedly molesting 2 brothers. It is possible that pathological or mental disorder are leading as the principal disease in Malaysia, surpassing heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and high blood pressure. Pedophilia is one of the chronic mental disorder that must be eradicated because it is a heinous crime. Then of the School of Human Development and Technology, IKOM, University Malaysia Police Associate Professor Dr. Huzili Hussein defined pedophilia as a sexual disorder that causes its patients to have persistent sexual attraction towards children, generally as 13 or younger. He added that an individual must be at least 16 years old and 5 years apart from a child to be considered a pedophilia, although the person may have sexual thoughts for children without ever touching them. He or she is still considered a pedophilia. Recently, it has come to light that the number of pedophilia cases has been increasing during MCO in 2020, which had involved over 1,095 case record. Chief Assistant Director Sexual Investigation Women and Children Division D11 Bukit Aman Assistant Commissioner Sisti Kamisia Hassan said case of physical sexual harassment in children over the past year 2020 we saw an increase compared to 732 cases in 2019 and case in 2018. Mainly case of physical sexual harassment increased to 51 cases last year 2020 compared to 13 cases in 2019 case in 2018. Furthermore, what is more concerning is 17 of sexual offenders in Malaysia were involved in child pornography case. She added the police have made 25 arrests involving child pornography over the past year 2020 compared to 6 cases in 2019 and 5 cases in 2018. Cases that were reported involving child pornography also increased immensely in 2020 to 41 cases compared to 6 cases in 2019 and 7 cases in 2018. In Malaysia, Police Chief Datuk Surina said, "It's not complete to data pedophilia case, but this crime of sexual abuse against children always occurs from time to time. In my opinion, the worst case of pedophilia that has happened in this country, the case of Fitri Azmi, who is charged and convicted for producing and possessing witch manor in London, United Kingdom in 2015 when arrested by the police. The Amara mathematics scholar position 601 category of pornography video and image which involve penetrative sexual interactivity, sexual activity with an animal or sadism, as well as hundreds of category B non-penetrative sexual activity and C indecent image pornography material. British Police that. Thank you.
Thanks for the informative and interesting speech and data from Mr. Nazrin. Your experience is very interesting and personally I salute you. Not to waste time, then welcome to the second sources. Our panel, Miss Wilma. Time is yours.
Okay, my point is as a representative of the Mother Association. So today I want to discuss how pedophilia first victim. With the development of the internet world, pedophilia can find victims easily. For example, through the social site Facebook and so on. Victims are often discovered by the pedophilia, such as being taught to be naked and so on. So if you are parents or guardian to children, it is very important that you monitor their movement so as not to fall victim to this group. The way to overcome pedophilia start from the parents themselves, as your parents are advised not to frequently upload pictures of children who are rude with their Malay or family. Therefore, we as parents need to advise our children from the very beginning to dress them in clothes that are not so prominent. In addition, parents should also apply sex education to children. For example, screaming when someone does something indecent. Sex education aims to teach children about the positive and negative things that can happen as a result of sex, not to encourage them to do so, but at least to combat and spread the application of sex itself. The next way is to take the time to ask the child conditions so that the child does not to keep secret what happened to them. If possible, allocate a certain amount of time, at least 50 minutes, to listen to their expression or problem, if any. If you notice the child is starting to protest and distance himself, focus on getting in touch with them again. Thus, children who feel hurt will be more likely to defend themselves, will fight, and ask for help. Therefore, who would have thought that there was a case of pedophilia originating from their own family members? For example, on April 2, 2006, there was a case of pedophilia rape involving a 4-year-old child. The name is Natasha binti Abdullah, and the perpetrator was his own biological father, who is 37 years old. After being questioned by the police, the perpetrator was found guilty because not only his own child was a victim of pedophilia, but also other children were victims. This is because the perpetrator is too obsessed with children to commit immoral acts. That this is an example that pedophilia does not count family member. Therefore, we do not want to deny our own family member, but just a precautionary measure to the parents for the sake for the beloved child. In conclusion, parents need to take safety measures by not doing things that can attract the attention of pedophilia, especially on social sites. Therefore, do not underestimate the issue of pedophilia because children are the trust and responsibility of adults to protect them. Children who are victims of these sexual crimes are in a state where they do not understand what is happening to them, and but their belief in the adult have been manipulated. It made the crime against them a double sin and very cruel.
Very inspiration speech. Thank you, Miss Wilma, for your inspiring and interesting speech. I think if many people like you in this country will always prevail and justice in our hand. For the last panel, I'm welcome to the third salesman, Mr. Azri. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Miss Alia. I'm here as the psychology doctor. Want to share some of the factors pedophilia happens in psychology learning. Pedophilia is classified when it meets these three conditions. The cause underlying pedophilia are still largely unknown and disputed, yet several different factors have been identified as potential contributors and indicators of pedophilia tendencies. Biological, psychological, and social factors have been indicated in the foundation and development of pedophilia. The use of medical imaging technology such as functional magnetic resonance imaging (fMRI), a neuroimaging procedure suggests that the anatomy of the brain might play a role in the sexual preference for different age groups. The pedophilia act on these sexual arousing fantasies or urges and cause distress. All criteria are based on DSM-5, the Diagnosis and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder 5th edition. The main distinction between pedophiles and sex offenders is that pedophilia do not necessarily act upon their sexual attraction, whereas sex offenders do act upon their desire. Therefore, not all pedophilia are sex offenders, just as not all sex offenders are pedophiles. Sex offending can and often does exist on a spectrum. The most threatening type of sex offender to society is the predator offender, who seek out victims and actively seeks to engage in sex offending. Opportunistic offenders, on the other hand, offend when the occasion arises, but do not actively seek to engage in sex offending. Media attention and legislation modification have increased society awareness of the prevalence of pedophilia, but have simultaneously caused the incorrect social preconception that pedophilia is synonymous with sex offending. Furthermore, analysis of pedophilia and sex offenses as a global health issue often focus on the effect on victim or on treatment to reduce recidivism, rather than on preventive treatment method to stop the progression from pedophilia to sex offender. Social stigmas, legal implication, and other deterrents likely have a negative influence on the rate of treatment sought to minimize the manifestation of pedophilic fantasies and attraction in sexual offenses. Physical treatment is one method that has been shown to be effective in the reduction of subsequent sex offenses and also provides a potential method to reduce the progression of pedophilia to engagement in pedophilic activity. For example, surgical castration, the physical removal of male testes or testosterone level, which in turn reduces sexual arousal and activity. In contrast, chemical castration involves the use of hormonal therapy and reduces sexual rhythm by lowering testosterone.
Thanks to all the speakers. Please give them one more applause. I agree with all of the statements that the panel given. Now we are going to the end. In summary, pedophilia is characterized with so many definitions, both medically and psychology. Medically, pedophilia is defined as a psychiatric disorder that brings intense sexual urges and arousing desire in pre-second children. Psychology, it is defined as a psychosexual disorder where adults engage in sexual act with pre-second children of the opposite or the same sex. In general, it is defined as a sexual interest in children or an act of an adult involving in sexual activities with underage children or rather child sexual abuse. According to the law, a pedophilia is a person who commits sexual-based crimes on children who are legally underage. Crime like rape, pornography, indecent exposure, and many more. Generally, pedophilia is considered morally wrong, abnormal, and unacceptable in society. It should be understood that in the life, all people have weakness, habits, and demons that are struggling to overcome, and so are pedophilia. They should be considered as normal human beings. Pedophilia have a sexual fantasies, urges, and feeling towards children and like spending most of their time with them. Although pedophilia are thought to be subhuman, it should be understood that pedophilia is a sickness that needs treatment like any other disease. Pedophilia should be treated the same way patients with mental or physical handicaps are treated. Many pedophilia are arrested and imprisoned while others executed for the sexual offense they commit. It should be considered that this is a sickness that needs to be treated and is called for research on the successful treatment of this disorder, since many of them regret being pedophilia and wish that they could live a normal life like other people. In contrast, pedophilia also deserve to be punished for their crimes, since not all pedophilia have the disorder. Others are just child molesters and child predators. Back to the real life, we come to the end of our forum. We would like to say thanks again to presenter for the informative and interesting talk, and to audience for active participation. Hopefully, the presentation will be beneficial for everybody. Thanks for your attention.